Welcome to another episode of Meller Notes Podcast. My name is William Meller, and I'm glad to have you here for another episode, another moment to connect and discuss topics that can be relevant to your career, to the way you're building your professional and personal life, perhaps the way you're leading your teams, and also the way you're managing your business. Every week, I try to organize, do a good content curation, and bring topics that can be relevant for you to at least be at 1% better every day compared to the version that you were yesterday. That's how we evolve. Every single day, trying to make one little thing better than what we are doing in the past. With that mindset, we can make small, very small improvements, but always make some improvements. And that way, your version compared with yourself over the time, it's impressive. You see how much you evolve. Never comparing yourself with the others, never comparing yourself with the people around you, but always with yourself. Look back 10 years ago. What you knew, what actually were you doing? Maybe you were thinking different about some specific topic, about the perspective in the road. And now 10 years later, you have more organization of your knowledge. You have also more knowledge in many topics. You have theory from what you read, you have the experience for what you practice, and connecting all those things, you see that the version that you are today, it's much more impressive, even unrealistic compared to the version that you were 10 years ago. And one thing that for sure help us to improve is reading books. Reading books, of course, is not the answer. You are not going to be a better leader just because you were reading three, four, five books about leadership. You're not going to be a better father just because you're reading about how to be a good father. That's not how it works. But having the theory, having the knowledge, prepares you for when you are facing a situation in practice in your real life to have the knowledge what other people said but what other people did, and you prepare also your understanding, your judgment in front of those situations. And that's why today is a special episode. I want to talk about reading. This is a little bit out of the normal format. I want to focus on reading as an architecture because that's what I'm doing for my life in the past few years. Actually, I've been reading massively for many years because I have a passion for books. I really do. Reading is the first thing that I do in the morning and is the last thing that I do when I'm finishing my day. Reading, it's part of the small gaps of time that I have in front of me during a normal day. So I'm always feeling that with books. That's why I usually read a lot of books. I have impressive reading speed, not because of the speed of the read itself, but because I'm always reading. So I finish quite a lot of books. And one thing that is always in the mind of those who love reading is what to read next. You know, your pile of things to read is always growing in an impressive way. You finish one book, and just because of the references and the connections you had from that book, you have four, five more ideas of new books you want to read. So the list of things you want to read never stop growing. I have a virtual library in Calibri in my computer where I have more than 8,000 of books. And you know what is impressive? I know those books. It's not that I read of them, of course not. By the way, I used AI to compare the number of pages in all those books together, and I discovered that because I have a lot of massive books, very dense books there, it will take more than one human life, for sure, ensured by the number, just to finish all those books, even if a person just do that in their life. They don't eat, they don't sleep. It would be impossible in one life to read all those books. Quite impressive. But what I mean by I know those books then, I know then. It's like almost like the mind of a librarian. Like you know the books who are there. You have an idea that if you need to find something about Russia in a specific period of time, or you want to know more about rhetoric, you want to know more about negotiation, you know where to go. That's how my mind works. And over time, I've been preparing to myself, only to me, an architecture and a map to always know what to read next. Because if I don't have time to read everything, I should at least read all the essential ones, right? And the essential would be for sure around 1000 books, I believe. So I started to organize what, in my mind, with my bias, good to mention, would be that map of reading. Because by, by by the end, when you have a book list of things you want to read, you know that you're not going to read all those things, right? But you have an idea of the next 10 very important books you want to get contact with. But then you start working with something and you discover you need to read more about that because it's important to your career. And then you don't look more to that, novel that you want to read next. But the thing is, all those things can be connected. Maybe you read all the good strategy books, for example. It doesn't make you better on doing strategy, but now you have a lot of theory about it. So when you're building your company strategy or team strategy, probably you're more prepared, at least with the theory, with the knowledge from the others to understand that. But then you go into the discussion and you see that you're missing some point, how to explain well the ideas that you have in mind, how to summarize better all those things that you have in your mind, how to organize the ideas. And you see that in order to do that in a good way, you don't need to read more about the strategy. You need to read more about, basic human things. And with that, of course, you start understanding that is a part that is that is crucial for you to understand, that is not connected to those professional books. Actually, those things comes from the classics. Books were written centuries ago by people who understood how the human mind works, how the human mind works when they are being, in front of a challenge, of a fight, of a conflict, how the human mind organize ideas, how you can do that in a better way. So that's why you need to connect the professional books, the books that will make you better in your craft, in your work, connect that with the classics that will make you a better, not a better person, because that would not be the correct argument, but at least knowing better how to prepare yourself to understand, to connect, and to explain all those ideas. And to make that happen, you know, I connected all those things again to myself. I built a big list of things that I think are essential to a manager, to a leader to read from a professional perspective. But I also made a very impressive list, again, for the third time, to myself to think about the classics, the most important books that I should read, the essential ones for the humanity, let's say, let's talk like that. Because basically, in one side, I have the professional formation. So I understand how enterprise actually work, how culture works, how to build up high performing teams, how to negotiate with someone at work, and also more specific things like agile project management, for example. So I know what to read, what is the essential from these topics, because I have this librarian mind, which is a bit crazy, I know. But in the other side, I have the human formation. It's like a civilizational library that shapes like the judgment itself. And it talks a lot about power, about decisions. It talks a lot about conflicts and all those things. When you bring to your mind, connected with the professional mindset, with the professional books, you build something that is impressive. You connect negotiation from a professional perspective with the rhetoric and the building of ideas from a classic, and you are now more prepared to defend your argument, defend your ideas. And altogether, the system behind the idea brings together 826 books in my two lists together. So it's basically two tracks that are organized, and I'm offering that now for you. Again, I will repeat, it has my bias on that. It has my view of the road when it comes to essential. You know, Of course, it brings a lot of myself because it's my list, but I wanted to share that with you because I think it creates so much value to know what to read next. As I said, two tracks, human track and professional track. The professional track has 156 books, which are splitted into five areas. So basically, the books that you need to read to be a better professional, better leader, better manager. And the human track, it's bigger, of course. It's 697 books. It has like 42 essentials, which goes from like Homer to Nietzsche and all those important he, books that every human maybe should read in their life, no matter what they do. And altogether, I have a complete map of like important books to build an impressive, uh, you know, amount of knowledge in your brain. Of course, 800 more than 800 books, maybe not possible to read in one life as well, depending on your rhythm. But I organize that in a way that you at least know what to read depending on the challenge you have. So the number here is not the point. Please don't focus too much on that and don't get crazy about it, because the connection between them is the most important thing. You want to be better. Taking strategy again as an example, maybe you were going to read one book from strategy, and my list is going to help you to find the next one about the human mind, that will help you to understand how to transform that strategy in a way that people can actually understand that. And that's what I want to provocate with this kind of list. One example, maybe just to understand what I mean, like in the classical side, in the human track, I have like books like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I have the Ethics by Aristotle. I have Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And on the business side, I have books like Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I have Blue Ocean Strategy, of course, and I have The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen. So very different books from from many kind of perspectives, of course. But when you connect the ideas from the classics with the business books all together, it's impressive what it does to your brain. It is for sure. I can ensure that to you. And now you can see that I have, of course, a lot of books, but they are organized in a way that is quite simple to understand the list. And I'm offering right now, if you go to my newsletter, Mailer Notes on Substack, you have the link on the description. You are going to see that I'm offering all the essential ones, the starter of those lists, just for free. You just click on the link, you are going to see this impressive list available to you with the essential ones. But then, of course, if you want to have access to all those files that I built, the list, how they are connected, the sub lists with the topics, the themes, of course, again, with my bias, I welcome you there. Because with that newsletter, I'm trying to finally bring all those more than 15 years reading and taking notes on a lot of books to life with good sharings to you about what are the lessons that can be relevant from all those readings. And of course, if you subscribe and you support my work there, you're going to have access to all this list, all the books. You're going to see how they connect to each other. I mean, not access to the book itself, but to the list connecting the books, the map, the architecture of reading that made a big difference to my life and now can make a big difference to your life as well. So I welcome you to check there. And also with that, subscribing to my newsletter, you're going to check and see my lessons from this book that I will start sharing more there with you about my readings and my ideas from negotiation from a book that was written like centuries ago, and then I connect that with work, with career, with leadership. I try to do my best because I have a passion, as I said, for reading and another passion for sharing knowledge. So I welcome to check there. As I said, this is a special episode. I wanted to help you to think with me about what is your next reading. And now I'm offering you a pack architecture that will help you to always have the answer to that question. Because judgment, knowledge, it does not stack up in the frameworks. Actually, it built over time in layers. But you need to know what are the layers to navigate. You need to know how to organize that. Otherwise, you start going without a clear direction. And this map, this architecture, will give you a good map for that. And it doesn't mean that you cannot like go to different points and read something else, I'm giving you the map. You can stop in the coffee, going to point A to point B. You can stop in the coffee place if you want, but this map will help you at least know what to navigate, where, how, and what to read next. Check there, and please let me know in the comments, connect with me. Let me know if you have any suggestions to that list, if you have any feedback about that. I'll be glad to hear about that. Okay? See you in the next episode. This one was a special one, a different one, no big content curation in different things happening around the world, but I welcome to stay with me connected and see you in the next episode. Bye.